Episode 1. Ashes of Vengeance. The rain fell in relentless sheets, turning the streets of Ashwood into a blur of grey and despair. Clara stood under the awning of a shuttered cafe, her breath visible in the cold, her hands trembling not from the chill, but from the fire raging in her chest. 10 years. 10 years since her life had been torn apart, and tonight, she would begin to stitch it back together with blood, if necessary. Clara was 16 when her world collapsed. Her father, Henry Langston, had been a beloved mechanic in their small town, his garage a hub of laughter and grease-stained camaraderie. Her mother, Elise, was a schoolteacher with a smile that could thaw the iciest hearts. They were the kind of family that made people believe in goodness until Victor Crane destroyed them. Victor was a real estate tycoon, a man whose wealth cast a long shadow over Ashwood. His ambition was insatiable, and when Henry refused to sell his garage to make way for Victor's luxury condos, the consequences were swift and brutal. A mysterious fire gutted the garage one night, trapping Henry and Elise inside. The official report called it an accident, faulty wiring, they said, but Clara, hiding in the woods nearby, saw the men in black slip away from the blaze, their faces obscured, but their purpose clear. Victor's men. Clara lost everything that night. Her parents, her home, her trust in the world. She was shipped off to a foster home, her grief buried under layers of survival. But she never forgot Victor's smug face at the town hall meeting days later, his crocodile tears, as he pledged to rebuild Ashwood in their memory. She knew the truth, and she swore she'd make him pay. Now, at 26, Clara was back. She'd spent a decade preparing, clawing her way through night school, learning to hack, to fight, to disappear. She'd tracked Victor's empire, his dirty deals, his network of loyal thugs. Tonight, she stood in the rain, a ghost in her own hometown, ready to ignite the first spark of her revenge. The plan was simple but precise. Victor was hosting a gala at his sprawling estate on the edge of town, a celebration of his latest development deal. Ashwood's elite would be there, sipping champagne, while Victor basked in their adoration. Clara had no invitation, but she didn't need one. She'd spent months infiltrating his security system, planting backdoors in his cameras, his alarms, his life. She adjusted the hood of her black raincoat, her dark hair plastered to her face, and slipped into the alley behind the estate. The service entrance was unguarded, her first gift from Victor's arrogance. She disabled the lock with a small device she'd built herself, its soft beep drowned out by the storm. Inside, the hum of the gala filtered through the walls, laughter, clinking glasses, the cloying scent of wealth. Clara moved like a shadow, her boots silent on the polished floors. She'd memorized the layout of the estate from blueprints she'd stolen from a corrupt city planner. The server room was her target, tucked away in the basement. Victor's empire thrived on secrets she intended to expose. The room was a fortress of blinking lights and humming machines. Clara plugged her drive into the mainframe, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she bypassed firewalls. She wasn't here to steal money or ruin his credit. She wanted something far more devastating, the truth. Emails, contracts, recordings, proof of every bribe, every threat, every life he'd crushed to build his empire, including her parents. The download was nearly complete when she heard footsteps, heavy, deliberate. She yanked the drive free and ducked behind a server rack, her heart pounding. A guard appeared, his flashlight slicing through the dim room. Clara held her breath, her hand inching toward the knife strapped to her thigh. She wasn't a killer, not yet, but she'd do what she had to. The guard's radio crackled. "All clear upstairs, check the basement." "On it," he muttered, his beam passing inches from her hiding spot. Clara waited, counting his steps, timing his movements. When he turned toward the door, she slipped out, silent as death, and melted back into the shadows. Upstairs, the gala was in full swing. Clara swapped her raincoat for a stolen server's uniform, blending into the chaos of trays and tuxedos. She scanned the room, her eyes locking on Victor. He stood at the center of the ballroom, his silver hair gleaming under the chandeliers, his smile a polished weapon. He was toasting, his voice booming about progress and community. The crowd ate it up, oblivious to the monster in their midst. Clara's fingers twitched, itching to confront him, to scream her truth in front of them all. But that wasn't the plan, not yet. She needed leverage, and the drive in her pocket was only the beginning. She moved toward the catering table, slipping a tiny divisor custom-built beneath a tray of canapes. It was small, undetectable, but when activated, it would fry every electronic device in the room. No cameras, no phones, no record of what came next. She just needed to get to Victor's private office, where he kept his most sensitive files, the ones not even his servers held. The office was on the 3rd floor, behind a biometric lock. Clara had planned for this. She'd spent weeks shadowing Victor's head of security, a man named Kessler, with a weakness for bourbon and loose lips. She'd recorded him bragging about the override code, a fail-safe Victor insisted on. Arrogance, again, her greatest ally. She slipped into the stairwell, her pulse steady now, her mind razor-sharp. The code worked, the door clicking open, to reveal Victor's sanctum. The office was a shrine to his ego. Mahogany desk, gold-framed awards, a panoramic view of Ashwood's skyline, his kingdom. Clara ignored it all, heading straight for the safe hidden behind a painting. She cracked it in minutes, her tools precise, her hands steady. Inside were documents, flash drives, a ledger. She photographed everything, her camera's soft clicks a countdown to justice. But then, a voice. "You're not supposed to be here." Clara spun, her knife drawn, to find a woman in the doorway. Not a guard, Leela, Victor's assistant. Her eyes were wide, not with fear, but with something else, recognition, curiosity. Clara tensed, ready to fight. But Leela raised a hand. "I know who you are," Leela whispered. "Clara Langston." Clara's blood ran cold. "What do you want?" Leela stepped closer, her voice low. "I was your mother's student. I know what he did to them. To you." She glanced at the safe, then back at Clara. "I've been waiting for someone to stop him." Clara didn't trust her, not yet, but she didn't have time to argue. "Then help me," she said, testing the waters. Leela hesitated, then nodded. "There's a file on his laptop. Offshore accounts, names of everyone he's paid off. It's encrypted, but I know the key." Clara's jaw tightened. "A partner could be a trap or a gift. Show me." Leela worked quickly, her fingers dancing over the keyboard. The file opened, revealing a web of corruption that stretched far beyond Ashwood. Judges, cops, council members, all on Victor's payroll. Clara's hands shook. She copied it to her drive. This was it, the weapon she needed. But the moment was shattered by an alarm. The EMP had gone off prematurely, plunging the estate into darkness. Shouts echoed from downstairs, footsteps thundering closer. Clara cursed under her breath. Someone had tripped the system. "Go," Leela hissed, shoving the drive into Clara's hand. "I'll cover for you." "Why?" Clara demanded, still wary. "Because I loved your mother," Leela said, her voice breaking. "And I hate him." Clara didn't wait to question it. She bolted for the window, sliding down a rope she'd rigged earlier. The rain stung her face as she hit the ground, the drive burning a hole in her pocket. Behind her, the estate was chaos, guards shouting, guests screaming, Victor's empire teetering on the edge of exposure. She disappeared into the night, her heart a storm of grief and triumph. This was only the beginning. Victor would know her name soon enough, not as a victim, but as the architect of his ruin. The next morning, Ashwood woke to a scandal. Anonymous posts flooded X, leaking fragments of Victor's secrets. A bribe here, a threat there. No one knew the source, but the town buzzed with whispers. Clara watched from a diner across town, her hood up, her laptop open. The posts were hers, carefully timed to spread like wildfire. She'd tagged them #Justice for Langston, a call to arms for anyone else Victor had wronged. Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. * You're not alone. Keep going. * Lila, someone else. Clara didn't know, but it didn't matter. She'd lit the fuse, and Victor's empire was starting to burn. As she sipped her coffee, Clara smiled for the first time in years. Revenge wasn't just sweet, it was viral.